Welcome to Spotlight Television. I'm your host, Tom Hegna. Today we're focused on Bruce Hosler. He's an author, he's a financial advisor. We both live in the state of Arizona. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here with you.
Now, I know a little bit about your background, but please share your background with the audience today.
You know, my path to this business is different than many other advisors that entered the business. I came from the tax business. So I was a tax accountant, and back in 1997, I saw what was going on in the industry, and my clients were being sold A-share mutual funds, which was the product back then that people did, but sometimes they weren't very good ones and they weren't chosen very well. And I thought, you know what, I can do better than what these advisors are doing. And so I got into the business and I took to it like a duck to water. And I found out that I loved it. I love giving advice. I have a natural gift for that, of maybe taking complex topics and making them so people can understand. And so it was just marriage made in heaven from that point. And I've loved the business ever since.
Now, you wrote a book, Moving to Tax-Free, and in there you talk about, in the first chapter, it's called The Most Important Question. What is the most important question?
So the most important question is if you look forward into the future of the United States over the next 10 years, do the tax rates stay the same? Do they go lower? Or do they go higher?
Now, why is that the most important question?
That's the most important question because if you think about Stephen Covey, he talked about begin with the end in mind. If you're climbing a mountain and when you get to the end of your goal at retirement and you find out that you've saved all this money, but you have a big nest egg that has, as Ed Slott says, is infested with taxes, versus you should have climbed the other mountain, to go back down and go back over to the other mountain that you should have been climbing. So it's a directional change is why that's the most important question. Because if you know or believe that taxes are going to be higher in the future, you have to change the very way, path, and direction of how you're saving investments and what you're doing for your retirement, because you're going to end up in the wrong place. And your goal is not going to be what you're after.
Yeah, and to put this in context, the government's over $34 trillion in debt. That debt is climbing at, what, $5 to $6 billion every single morning. We're going to soon be paying $1 trillion a year just in interest on the debt. Social Security and Medicare have problems. There's $211 trillion of unfunded obligation for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, government pensions, military pensions. So it's really a math problem. People want to think it's political, Democrats, Republicans. It's a math problem, and that's why I believe taxes are going to have to head higher. Now, you write in here that moving to tax-free is a process. Kind of explain that.
You know, in the book, I write about a farmer that was going to plant an orchard. And it's just inconceivable that someone would plant their orchard one day and begin harvesting fruit the next day. You know, you plant an orchard, you got to water it, nurture it, keep the bugs off of it, and make it grow for 5 or 6 years before you even see your very first crop. And the same way with moving to tax-free, it's this process of beginning year after year to create a tax plan, look at how much money you need to be moving to tax-free, whether it's converting to Roth IRAs or funding your Roth 401k or funding your permanent cash value life insurance. Those are, you know, primary instruments, but all the other things that I talk about in the book of moving to tax-free, and you build your steam as you go, and it takes a period of time. Now, some people come to me and they say, well, Bruce, why can't I just do it all in 1 year? And the answer is, well, you're going to force yourself into such a tax bracket that you're not going to want to do it all in 1 year. Or, for example, in permanent cash value life insurance, you and I know you can't do a single premium life insurance policy without turning that into a taxable instrument that's not going to give you the tax-free income. So it's a process, and people have to work at that over a number of years to get to the point where they can be tax-free, which is ideal, and not everybody will get to tax-free. And you know, I love David McKnight and his Power to Zero. Many of the people I work with will probably never get to the 0% tax bracket because they've been so successful financially. And because of that, My book is moving to tax-free, so I'm helping those people move as close to tax-free as they can get.
Right, to minimize the taxes. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't think I'll ever get done because I've got some pensions coming in that would put me over the numbers anyway, but I'm trying to minimize. I've converted almost all my 401ks and IRAs to Roth. I've moved a bunch more of my personal wealth to cash value life insurance. And, you know, for all the people that make fun of cash value life insurance, I don't know if you saw today on CNBC, the Senate is now proposing a bill to go after private life insurance because it's too good of a deal, and all these people in Silicon Valley, they put their houses, their businesses, they can put everything in these life policies. Now, you know, that some of that may go away, but cash value life insurance is a real deal, and there's all different kinds of ways you can use it. The problem is people compare it to stocks, and they shouldn't be comparing cash value life insurance to stocks. They should be comparing it to bonds. And bonds are 40% of a portfolio. I don't have any bonds. What I have is I have cash value life insurance as my bond portfolio.
And that's a very good decision, because the key to that many people forget, that's the benefit to that life insurance, is unlike a Roth IRA, once I squeeze the toothpaste out of that tube, you can't put the toothpaste back in. But on life insurance, Tom, if you take some money, you borrow it out, guess what? You have an inheritance, you sell a piece of property, you come in some more money. Hey, guess what? You can put that back into the life insurance, pay the loan off, and that sheltered vehicle is still there for your family. That is why it is very important to every family to consider having at least one of those accounts like that. I, like you, I have 5 life insurance policies, and I probably fund $90,000 to $100,000 a year on my life insurance that I put in there, and it's very important for those very reasons.
Yeah, and I used it to buy 2 houses in Arizona because, you know, when things get rolling in Arizona, you had to be a cash buyer. Well, how many people have that much cash laying around? But I was able to take it out of my life policy, pay off the house, pay that back, then we did another one. And so I bought 2 houses with the cash from my cash value life insurance.
What a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it has so many uses. Now, we talked about future tax rates. Let's dig a little deeper. What are the implications for these future tax? We both believe there are going to be increases in the future.
You know, Tom, it's real interesting to me. So the tax rates from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, if you're a married couple, married filing joint, and you have taxable income of $250,000, you go from the 24% tax bracket right now. On January 1st of 2026, now you fall into the next marginal, which will be the 33% tax bracket. That's a 9% increase on your top marginal rate. I don't think people are ready for that, and that's if Congress doesn't make any changes at all. So if you look around the world at the other tax rates in Europe and around the rest of the world, many of them are north of 40, and many of them are in the 50 plus range. I think that's coming to us here in the United States because of our national debt. And the other issue is the inflation. Inflation is going to force the Fed to keep interest rates higher, and that just means the amount of interest that our country is paying is going to be worse. And the demand, I don't want to take a political side on this. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. They all have a financial problem they're going to have to address sooner or later. And with the Medicare Trust Fund running out of money in 2028, 4 years, there's going to be as some people say, a coming to Jesus moment where our country is going to have to raise taxes or do something to address that situation.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't think people understand that this is already the law of the land. Taxes are going to go up on January 1st, 2026. That is the current law unless something gets changed. So, and then if you go back after World War II, the highest marginal tax rate got up to 94%. And for most of our parents' lives, the highest marginal tax rate was over 70% for decades. And so I just think it's a math problem, and I agree with you. I think rates are going higher.
Hey, in our lifetime, when I was born and when I turned 19 years old, it was still 70%. Now, I wasn't making enough money at 19 years old to be in the 70% tax bracket, but that was the highest marginal tax bracket in our lifetime, Tom.
Right. And people will argue, well, there were more deductions, but you know what? They may go back to 70 without the deductions that they had way back when. Now, we did talk about long-term care, but I think it's such an important topic. It's the one thing that most people forget about that can wipe out their entire life's work. I know it's important to you. Kind of tell me some of the ways you solve it and some of the situations you've seen.
So we know statistically that if a married couple is, both of them are age 65 or older, there's a 70% chance one of them is going to need long-term care. Now, the beauty of the cash value life insurance is that they will accelerate that death benefit. You don't even have to die, and you can pull 25% of that out over 4 years and use it for long-term care. What a great free benefit that couples can have. And that's why a lot of times we want both individuals in a married couple to have cash value life insurance for the benefit of the long-term care and for the benefit to be able to take tax-free income and to put money in and out and to be able to use that in retirement as they need to. So that long-term care benefit is very important. And when you're qualifying for life insurance, it's different than qualifying for long-term care. We see right now the long-term care companies that sold traditional long-term care, they're coming back with 30 and 40% a year increases. It's terrible, the clients that have those policies. Life insurance, they can't do that to you. So there's also asset-based long-term care. We do use that. I have a policy myself. Pay $7,500 a year for 10 years, then it's paid up. I'll never pay a premium again. They can never raise it up. Has a death benefit that's more than I paid in. It goes to my wife. If I change my mind, it has a return of premium up to 80%. And if I need long-term care, there's this big pile of money that I'm there. You know, a lot of people want to stay in their home. They don't want to go to a nursing home. These policies can give that benefit and allow them to stay in their home if they choose to do that.
I call it anti-nursing home insurance. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home,
Right.
But you need to have the coverage so that you can stay in your house. You know, I made my parents buy long-term care insurance about 18, 19 years ago. They didn't want to. It's too expensive. We'll never need it. It's an insurance company rip-off. Those were the words my dad said to me. I made them buy it. They were both in assisted living. $10,000 a month. They were teachers in small towns of Minnesota. There were years they didn't make $10,000 a year. And so it's the one problem that I think people think it's too hard to solve, but when they work with a financial professional, it's not that hard to solve that problem.
Absolutely.
Now, we didn't really talk much about Social Security. We mentioned it, but I think Social Security planning is so critical. And I know you do that with your clients. So talk a little bit about Social Security.
So Social Security, you know, people come to me and they say, well, I want to take it early at 62 because I don't think it's going to be there. We know mathematically already, if they don't make any changes to Social Security, that we'll lose about 22% of our benefits in 2033, but the rest of it stays there. I don't know anyone that can beat from full retirement age to age 70, that 8% increase a year compounded for the rest of your life. And by the way, when we die, our wives will receive it the rest of their lives. There's just no way to beat that. So one of the spouses, usually the highest earning spouse, it's beneficial for them to take their retirement Social Security benefits, to take their Social Security benefits at age 70. Now, the other spouse can take them earlier or at full retirement age, but we do the calculations on when to do that. But what I really want to talk about is how can you make your Social Security tax-free? A lot of people don't even realize that they have to pay taxes on their Social Security, but you don't have to pay taxes on your Social Security, and people don't know that. You only have to pay taxes on Social Security if your combined incomes as a married couple go over $32,000, and then if you go above $44,000, it's 85% included in taxable income. Oh my goodness. With two spouses, benefits today, we're seeing $40,000, $50,000 a year. If you include 85% of that in taxable income, you just devastated your Social Security benefits. So if somehow you can move to tax-free and make your Social Security benefits tax-free as well, wow, that is the goal that we are trying to achieve and help couples get to the place where they don't pay taxes on their Social Security benefits.
Now, we were talking earlier, and you were talking a little bit about annuities and some of these buffered ETFs. Kind of, how do you handle that side of the business?
I love annuities because of the guaranteed income. Just like you think, you can have guaranteed income for life, and that takes a risk, longevity risk, off the table. And there's no other way to insure for that. The annuity is pretty much it, or a life insurance policy. But the problem is in our industry, too many times, people will buy an annuity in a taxable account, and they just turn that taxable money that could be capital gains taxed at only 15 or 20%, they now turned it into ordinary income, which is going to be taxed at your highest marginal tax bracket. So a lot of times we'll use buffered ETFs that can give some safety on the downside, similar to annuities, but it doesn't change that income from capital gains to ordinary income. But if we want to use an annuity inside of a life insurance, if we want to use an annuity inside of an IRA, then we may split that annuity up into 1, 2, or 3 annuities, maybe 100,000 each, and each one of those can be converted to a Roth IRA over time. And now all of those annuities are inside the Roth IRA where they're income tax free, giving us income for life. What a great benefit that is.
What about for younger people? Because, they're planning to retire. Isn't it really important for them to take this serious too? Because if they start out younger, they can build an entire tax-free portfolio if they do it right.
Well, and I love your concept of who wants to be a millionaire. Let's help these young people do that. And in my book, in chapter 2, I talk about being prepared. And I talk about the seeds that create wealth is understanding the difference between saving and investing. And if you ask people, well, what is saving and what is investing? They don't know. But in the Boy Scouts and the personal management, personal finance merit badge, you learn the difference. And saving is living on less than you earn and setting some of that aside. And that act of delayed gratification, and I talk about delayed gratification, and you do too, how important that is to set money aside. So the question then, though, is when those young people save, where do they invest that money? And they have a choice. They could make the mistake of putting that into a tax-deferred vehicle and take a tax deduction when they're not making very much money and not in a high tax bracket, as opposed to if they put it into a tax-free vehicle. That is a much better place to go. And over their lifetime, if they do that correctly, keep their Social Security from being taxed, that could make the difference between them being a millionaire or not being a millionaire.
So what do you want people to take away from this on how to improve their financial lives?
The first thing that I want people to think about is this is a process that you have to attend to every year. We work with our clients and prepare an annual tax plan every year. And we use tax planning software that plans for 2024 right now, and it looks forward to what their taxes are going to be. And so they have to look, and if they have IRAs to convert, or they're funding a 401k Roth, or they're funding their cash value life insurance, they have to consistently move from tax deferred and taxable to tax-free. And that's this process that I want them to take away, that they're working toward that. And ideally, if we could get someone when they're ready to retire to have everything in tax-free vehicles, they could keep their Social Security from being taxed, and they could have a lot of taxable income. And then if they have capital gains or other things like that, it doesn't blow them up because all their other income is tax-free.
And one thing that people don't realize is that tax-free bond, all the interest on tax-free bonds counts towards the taxation of Social Security. So when I was a brand new financial advisor 30 years ago, that's how I kind of got in the business. I showed people how to reduce or eliminate the taxes on their Social Security benefits. And they were buying tax-free bonds because they thought they were tax-free. And if we could just move those into a couple other vehicles, I could get them from paying tax on 85% of their Social Security down to 0. And that really helped.
And that's one of the things for the test to be tax-free. I look for no federal tax, no state tax, no capital gains tax, and no provisional income inclusion, which those municipal bonds are included in provisional income calculation.
Now, we talked, I have the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I try to help young people, but moving to tax-free can help people become millionaires as well.
Absolutely. It can help people not pay, well, just think of it, Tom. If you ask the question, what's the biggest expense that someone has over their lifetime? It's probably taxes. Mm-hmm. So if we could minimize that expense and that money could stay in their portfolio, it could make a dramatic difference, even on people, not young people, but middle-aged people, and even people in retirement, because their income and their accounts are larger. So the tax implications, heaven forbid they double like the experts think they are, that could amount to millions of dollars over the next 10 or 20 years.
What are just a few concrete steps that somebody could take to get started in this process?
Well, again, tax plan is the first step. Then start converting. We do some seminars and educate people, and it's funny how we'll have the workshop and I'll talk to them about it. And then when they finally come in a week or two later to their first appointment, they've already gone into their HR department and told their HR department, hey, move me to a Roth 401k and stop digging the hole deeper and contributing to that traditional 401k. So they move that across. So stop digging the hole deeper, stop contributing to a traditional IRA, stop contributing to your traditional 401k. The other step that they can do is, if you haven't looked into permanent cash value life insurance and you haven't qualified, if your health is bad, you may not be able to qualify. So you want to try and get one of those policies, at least one, for your family, and perhaps two for a husband and wife to get the long-term care benefits, or the ability, if one spouse dies, the other spouse still has a vehicle that they can put money in and take it in and out of to buy houses like you did, or whatever the case may be. You need those policies to be able to shelter you and protect you. So you need to begin that process of putting all the different tools that I talk about in the book into place.
I think it's so important for people to work with a financial professional. I don't think retirement is a do-it-yourself program. I don't think building wealth is a do-it-yourself program. And there's a difference between tax preparation and tax planning. People say, oh, I got a CPA, they do my taxes. Okay, that's tax preparation. What you want is somebody who's looking out 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future. That's tax planning, and it's very different. Now, you wrote about the moment of truth in your book. What is the moment of truth?
So we all have moments of truth. We lose a job. We experience an unexpected divorce. We have a spouse become chronically ill, or our spouse passes away and now we're single. We lose a child loses his job or gets a divorce and has to move back home. These are all moments of truth that are dramatic in affecting our lives, but they also affect our finances in dramatic ways. Think about the widow. She loses her husband. Now she's no longer filing married joint, she's filing single. She only has until the end of the year to sell the house and use a Section 121 for $500,000 to exclude the gain on the house, or if the year rolls over, now the second year she can only exclude $250,000. There's these implications of moments of truth that you need to have your professional team around you to advise your family. Not only, let's say that, for example, my dad right now has dementia really bad and is in a nursing home. What happens to that spouse? How does she make all those decisions? And so you need to get your professional people lined up and in place, so when the moments of truth happen in your life, you're prepared and ready to deal with those situations, both emotionally, because you know the stability that you have a financial plan and that she's going to be okay, and also the financial implications are minimized because the team steps up and gives them the right advice at that moment of truth.
I've always said, if every wife knew what every widow knows, there'd be a lot more life insurance in the house. And we can say that for widower and husband as well, but the key thing is, women are the beneficiary 70% of the time. And that's why I think it's so important for women to know how much life insurance is on their spouse or partner.
Well, just go to a nursing home. Yeah. You got 97 women and 3 happy little guys because they're being chased by all those women, because that's the way it is. Those women are tougher than we are, and they last longer. But the ladies have to be concerned that this planning is put in place for them. And the husbands that really care for their wives, they're going to provide for their wives. In all those circumstances, no matter who has the long-term care event or whose health changes, husbands that love their wives plan to make sure their wives are taken care of.
Yeah, and you've seen, just like I have, what it typically happens: the man gets sick first, the wife takes care of him, the money spent on taking care of him, then he dies. Now who's going to take care of her? And where's the money going to come from? And so that's got to be a key part of the planning too. Well, let's talk about beneficiaries, children, because I think a lot of people, they want to do something nice for their children. Maybe they don't want to leave them a bunch of money, but they'd like to leave them something, and maybe some tax-free income. What are your thoughts around that?
So legacy planning is one of the things that we specialize in. And with the Secure Act, what happened is we had this beautiful wealth transfer vehicle. Just think of it. We took our IRAs, we converted them to the Roth IRA. When we die, we leave it to our wife. She takes it for her full life, and she takes her RMDs, income tax-free. And when she dies, it passes to the kids, and now they can take the stretch IRA the rest of their lives, and we leave this tax-free income stream to our children. The Secure Act cut that right off, and the Roth IRA now has to be distributed in 10 years. So the toothpaste is squozen out of the tube, and the kid's got this big pile of tax-free money for one moment. But if the tax rates double to 40, 50, 60%, where are they going to put that money going forward that it's going to be protected? Okay? So I have a 2-generation tax-free legacy plan that I talk to my clients about, so we can plan for tax-free legacy for those kids that is asset protected and it can leave them for them. Now, it's my intellectual property. I haven't described it all in the book, but that type of planning is out there for clients, and if someone's interested in it, my office would be glad to talk to them about how they can leave a tax-free legacy plan for their children. Now, some people, when they talk to me, they say, well, I don't want to leave it all that way. No, no, no. You would just carve off part of the money, but a lot of parents are very concerned. They're okay leaving a lump sum of money, but what if I could leave my children an income stream that would be tax-free, that would last the rest of their life? And better yet, it's asset protected. Lawsuits, car accidents, business failures, bankruptcy, and unexpected divorces. A lot of parents are concerned about divorce of their children. They don't want all that money they scrimped and saved to go through a divorce for their child and to lose it. So we have planning that we can do that for, too, for legacy planning.
Well, Bruce, this has been fantastic. How can people get in touch with you, and how can they get your book? How can they find you if they want some help?
So the book is available on Amazon, movingtotaxfree.com, or you can go to my website if you want them in bulk at movingtotaxfree.com. Then also, if they want to reach out to my team, they can reach out to us at Hosler, Hoslerwm, HoslerWealthManagement.com, HoslerWM.com, and they can set appointments or reach us right there.
That is great. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
And this has been another episode of Spotlight Television. Thank you very much for joining us today.